Hey, what's going on, guys? We're out here today doing a little bit of steelhead fishing. I just want to take a sec and I wanted to talk to you guys about steelhead gear, kind of what I used, what I've kind of found works best for me. Just kind of share that with you, and maybe you want to try out some similar stuff as well. So the very first thing I do want to say before I kind of get into what gear I use and kind of my systems and whatnot is the best gear is the gear that you already have. So certainly I don't want anyone to watch this and be discouraged and be like, Tyler says I have the wrong gear and blah, blah, blah. There's certainly gear that can help you in different situations better than other gear. And I've certainly come to realize that as I've advanced in my career and kind of fished different methods, different techniques, fish for different size fish different rivers, what have you be. There's certainly better gear, and I've been very fortunate to accumulate different gear. And I have different rods that work better in different situations. I have rods that work better for different techniques. I don't want that to limit you. I want you to go out there and fish. I want you to spend as much time on the water as you can, having an absolute blast and learning as much as you can. There's no substitute for time on the water when it comes to learning about how to catch steelhead, how to catch trout, how to catch bass, whatever fish, whatever, even if you're a hunter, kind of whatever animal you're chasing. Now, doing the same thing over and over again and failing and expecting a different result, please don't do that. But spend time on the water, kind of learn your local rivers, learn how to fish. But that's enough rambling. Let's get into gear. So kind of a new one for me. I've always been a Cortland guy. Still love Cortland. I used to use the Cortland Nymph series, the 10-foot, 10.5 4-weight. And I will say that's an okay steelhead rod for kind of eerie steelhead where the fish are kind of that cookie cutter, I don't know, 20 to 23 inch size. And it'll even handle some bigger ones. I've caught some bigger steelhead around here on it. It's just a little bit undersized for when you really get into a big fish. And even those little fish, you want to kind of handle them and kind of get them out of your run as quick as you can, especially when these fish are potted up. So rather than the Cortland Nymph series, something I invested in this year and something that I will probably do like a full review on is I'm now fishing the Diamondback Generation 4 10-foot 7-inch 6-weight. And I will say that this is a fantastic rod. I'm extremely happy with it. He did a really good job designing this rod, in my opinion. It kind of fixed kind of some of my complaints with the Ideal Nymphs rods that Diamondback came out with. I have an older model and it's a 10-foot 2-weight. It's a much different rod than this. But kind of the complaints that I had with that rod, I think, were solved in the Generation 4 rod. For a 6-weight, in my opinion, it's extremely light. It doesn't feel much different than like my 10-foot 9-inch 3-weight TNT, but it is a 6-weight. It's a little bit heavier in the hand. I do get a little bit more shoulder fatigue from it. It is what it is. I mean, I do a lot of high sticking. I do a lot of Euro nymphing, dry dropper. I'm extremely impressed with the way that this rod performs as far as throwing light flies in low water situations, throwing the dry dropper, which I've been doing a lot of today. And it's just a great rod. I do recommend it. It is a little bit pricier, but it is worth it. It's worth the investment. It's been durable. I beat the crap out of my equipment, and this rod's been holding up. I have the Orvis Hydros Euro reel, which unfortunately I just found out they discontinued this reel because I was looking to buy more. I really enjoy it. I think it's great. It's a full cage reel, which is what you want when you have a Euro line on there, so it doesn't slide out of the frame, which happens if you fish like a Sage, like Spectrum C, or if you fish any kind of open-faced reel, or if you fish kind of any open reel, you'll find it kind of slides out of the spool every now and again, which is really not that big of a deal. But if you want to avoid that, kind of a close frame reel will fix that. Lamson makes some good models. And then as far as fly lines on here, I have the Airflow Euro line, and it's not even out. I have a lot of cider material on here. But I have the Airflow European style nymphing line, level line. This line or the Cortland braid core line are the two best Euro lines out on the market. The Cortland line, which I do like a little bit better, is unfortunately sold out. I've been looking to kind of pick up a couple of those, but at the moment they're sold out. So I'll actually show you some kind of footage of some of my monocores. And when you're fishing in the winter and temperatures are cold, you really don't want a monocore fly line. It's just a coiled mess, and it's hard to kind of handle it when it's outside the reel, especially, you know, I pull a lot of line out sometimes, and it's just a tangled mess. Plus, the monocore does dry rot, so sometimes, you know, it'll get snagged or it'll get whatever, and your fly line will just kind of snap in half, and that's not cool. So recommend this Airflow Euroliner. Like I said, the Cortland braid core, when it comes back in stock, is a great one. So, and then as far as carrier, I have always kind of worn chest pack ever since I started competing. Always been an Umpqua chest pack. Just kind of what it kind of boils down for me. You kind of open this pocket, and I have all these boxes in here. So right now I have my gloves tucked in here, but you know, I have 5 of those big double-sided black boxes that everyone carries. Cabela's, Bass Pro, your local fly shop. They're the new phase boxes. I have 5 of them in here. Not nearly as full as I would like, but they're in here. Does a good job. You know, I can store some of my marker pens in here, kind of tippets in the front, nippers kind of off the side here. Kind of even got some floating and stuff hanging around. Then I have the magnet system. I have multiple magnets on my front here, which my net hangs off of, and it's attached to a heavy-duty zinger that's hanging on my back. One kind of piece of underrated equipment that I see a lot of people not wearing sunglasses when they're on the river, and I get it. I mean, today is not a bright day outside by any means, but a nice pair of polarized sunglasses, and I broke my Costas, so I just have these cheapy sun clouds right now until I replace them. But a nice pair of polarized sunglasses so you can really see into the water, see through the glare, and see the fish in the water. I was speaking with a gentleman the other day on the river and caught some fish, and was just kind of more there to scout than kind of catch a bunch of fish, but I always like to catch some fish. So I caught some fish and was like, hey man, there's a bunch of fish right here. I'm gonna go up, you can have this spot. And he's like, I'm just trying to kind of show him where these fish are, and he can't see them. And I'm like, here, put these on. And these aren't even the greatest polarized glasses, but they do the job. And I put those glasses on. I'm like, you see all those black lines in there? Yeah, those are fish. And just being able to identify where those fish are in the water and kind of see them. I personally get so stressed when I can see the fish because I know that they're rejecting my flies. So I'm like a strange one where I don't necessarily enjoy sight fishing all that much. But to just know that they're there, then I can kind of focus on my dry or focus on my sighter or my indicator, whatever it may be, whatever tactic I'm using, is a big help, and it builds confidence. I know I'm not just casting the empty water, which when you're steelhead fishing and the fishing is slow, sometimes you're just like, well, am I even fishing to fish? And then you go and you walk through the hole and you just spend a bunch of time fishing where there was no fish. I mean, that certainly happens. It happens to everybody, but a nice pair of sunglasses and being able to locate some fish that way certainly goes a long way. So kind of other than that, kind of some terminal gear. As far as tippet goes, Seagar is extremely popular among steelheaders. Just, Red Label Seagar is a great one. We used to have jokes about that back in the day when I was first going in college and stuff with my buddies and whatnot. I use Trout Hunter tippet is kind of what I use these days. I have everything from 3X down to 4.5X. Actually, I do have a spool of 5X on here too. And the one thing I'll say about tippet, I think people beef up their tippet way too much. And I guess that's probably something I get criticized for the most, is kind of using light tippet. But the reality is you can't catch the fish if you can't hook the fish. And sometimes in these low clear conditions, the difference is the tippet size. I mean, these fish are not blind. They can see your cable that you're using for tippet in the water. I mean, when it's crystal clear, they can see it. And they're just going to move right out of the way, and they're going to just let your fly go right by. So downsizing tippet is something I definitely recommend in clearer water. Kind of the lowest I've been going these days is 4.5X. I try to keep it minimum 4X. I mean, that's even still pretty light. 4.5X, let's see what we got here. Tensile strength is 6 pound. I mean, so that's plenty. It says knot strength, base knot strength is about 4.6 pounds. So that's plenty with a nice soft tip rod and kind of playing the fish appropriately, having your drag set properly. You can get away with 4.5x easy if it's needed. I do recommend using 3x when the water's a little stained and you can get away with it, or 2x. It is good to fish heavy tippet when you can get away with it, but a lot of times you can't get away with it. Downsize your tippet, have different tippets, have different sizes, whatever. Do what it takes to get the fish to eat, plain and simple.